Hello, lords and ladies. Welcome to Cartoon Hangout, your place for all things cartoon. After a very relaxing one-week break, I'm all prepared to come back and give you what you want. More reviews. And Let's Plays. Now, because of said break, I wasn't able to review this special episode when it premiered, but that obviously couldn't be helped now. Then again, my review of Last Day of Summer was up weeks after it premiered, so at least I'm keeping with tradition. Either way, I'm very excited to discuss the final episode of Phineas and Ferb. I suppose it wouldn't really be the final episode, more like an extra episode, but I digress. The Alka Files is pretty much what it sounds like, a 1-hour special following Perry's new animal team, and Doof, as a mysterious foe from Monogram's past returns.
Hello! Francis Monogram!
Early on, we're introduced to this new team: Harry the Hyena, Karen the Cat, Maggie the Macaw, and of course, Doof. This was set up in the previous episode, the series finale, Last Day of Summer, which was actually one of the first episodes I ever reviewed here on Cartoon Hangout. Weirdly enough, we discovered that Perry isn't exactly a team player, which kind of shocked me.
Agent P, nowhere in the OWCA training manual does it say abandon your team and apprehend the suspect by yourself. You're not a lone wolf anymore. Your team lacks focus and they need your leadership.
I suppose since he's worked alone for so long, he wouldn't be that great at leading a team, but it's still something I was amazed to see at first. On the other side of things, we're introduced to a new villain calling himself Professor Parenthesis. Not parenthesis, parenthesis. As soon as I saw him, I knew that if the show ever did come back, they could always use him as a recurring villain since Doof is now on the side of the angels. I'll talk more about that later in the review. This episode also features the return of the Bug Trio from the episode Doof 101, who are now looking to join the OWCA.
Dust clears, and here we are, OWCA secret headquarters.
Doesn't look very secret to me.
Be that as it may, today is the day that we will become OWCA's first insect agent.
I'll admit that at first I was really digging their inclusion in this episode, but it got old very fast. Anytime it cut to them during the episode, I just really wanted them to skip it and take me back to the main action. It doesn't help that they never do get to join OWCA, even by the episode's end. I feel like their side story would have been so much better if they were shown a little bit less, and often throughout the episode, and managed to not only save the day, as they actually did, but were awarded for doing so. However, if this is the worst the episode could do, then you've still got a great special on your hands. I'm also going to admit that the reveal of who Professor Parenthesis was caught me completely by surprise, and then reminded me a little bit of Tough Puppy. After Perry attacks him and knocks his head off, we learn that he's actually a flea! A freaking flea, everybody! Throughout the episode, Monogram is constantly trying to think of who he went to school with, so it's hilarious that it was a flea, because of course no one would notice a flea. Oh, and side note, the bits of the episode following Carl and Monogram were much better than the Bug side story.
We're gonna have to do some creative sneaking, Carl. Follow my lead. The Cobra.
Although Parenthesis was caught in the end, I could totally see him coming back in potential further episodes if ever the need arises. Heck, instead of Phineas and Ferb returning as we know it, I'd love to see an OWCA spin-off show that follows Perry and Doofenshmirtz's team taking on new baddies every week.
It's the Alka Files!
Anyway, this was a fantastic episode. I thought it was only going to be 30 minutes, so it was great that it turned out to be an hour long. The animation was actually much improved over the regular episode, which I think has to do with it being like its own little movie. It was also good to see a little bit about what Doof working with the OWCA would be like. The only thing I realized wasn't in the episode was Doofenshmirtz's daughter Vanessa, who, as it was revealed in Last Day of Summer, was accepted into OWCA's internship program. So it was my assumption that she would have a role to play in the special, but nope, she's nowhere to be found. Then again, none of the other human characters outside of the OWCA really showed up in any significant role.
Are these new plates? I mean, they look the same, but it feels as though they were replaced by exact copies.
But, like I said, she had joined OWCA, so kinda weird. What did you think of the episode? Does it make you even more sad over the show's ending? And like me, would you want to see an OWCA spin-off series? Let me know all of this in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the review, make sure to consider leaving a like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thanks for watching, and take care. I've been watching a lot of Phineas and Ferb lately, gearing up for the 2 new seasons that are coming out in the near future. And as will happen on rewatches, you begin to notice details that you missed before. Like, what happened to Django Brown? He's the son of Beppo Brown, a famous artist, and is the younger brother to Ginny Brown, another kind of forgotten Phineas and Ferb character. He first appears in Lawn Gnome Beach Party of Terror, where Buford bodies him, but his first speaking lines were episodes later in Jerk de Soleil, where he thinks he can place his foot behind his head.
Hey, board trick, I can put my leg over my head. Ow.
Spoiler alert, he can't. He appears often in the show's first season, gets his own focus episode, but then just fades into the background afterwards. Now, it's not uncommon for characters to drop off the face of the planet in shows. You have Nebula Lawrence, Topanga's sister from Boy Meets World, Arya's brother from Pretty Little Liars, Francis from Fairly OddParents, and a lot more. Unlike some of these, Django did still show up in more episodes, but typically with no speaking role or significant presence, reduced to a mere background character. Which is a shame because I thought, especially with his episode Oil on Candace, the writers were building him up to be a main addition to Phineas and Ferb's friend group. In that episode, he has a whole story arc about wanting to be a big artist like his father, and paints the unpainted desert in an attempt to make his dad proud, but learns in the end that you can be an artist no matter the medium or size of your art. You'd think he'd earned his spot among the likes of Buford or Isabella, but no, after this episode he goes back to being a background character, appearing briefly in episodes like The Baljeetles, or as part of the Hockey G9 match in For Your Ice Only. In total, not counting the films, he appears in 14 episodes, a mere 6% of the show if my math is correct, and it often isn't. I won't lie and say that I think he's a fascinating character. Out of the main friend group, he's pretty plain, but I do think they could have done more with him to make him stand out. Plus, it doesn't really help that partway through the show, the neighborhood starts to feel less like it's populated by a lot of kids, and more like the only inhabitants are Buford, Isabella, and Baljeet. Fingers crossed that he gets more of a spotlight in the new seasons. If you have any characters from Phineas and Ferb, or any cartoon that you think has also been forgotten or underutilized, drop them down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and take care. One of the running jokes of Phineas and Ferb is how long the summer seems. Almost every episode of the show's initial 4-season run takes place over the course of a single summer.
And the summer just keeps going on and on. It feels like it's been going on for like 4 years.
With over 200 episodes, the boys really crammed as much adventure into those 104 days of summer vacation as they could. Guess you might say they made the most of each and every day. I think it's a pretty funny joke, though by the show's end, it does wear out its welcome just a bit. See, I can only take so many meta jokes before I start to get annoyed. It also becomes a bit of a problem from a storytelling perspective, mostly with the newest movie, Candace Against the Universe, which sees Candace learn her lesson about wanting to bust her brothers. But since they had to set it in the same summer as the show itself, and that's obviously not the finale to the show as there's more episodes canonically set after it, Candace learning some lesson is ultimately pointless, which could have been avoided if they didn't set it in that same summer. With 2 new seasons on the way, it would probably be really easy to once again set them during the same summer, but I hope they don't. I'm not saying it can't work. Clearly, they made it work before, and it's only 40 new episodes, so it can likely work again. What I am saying is, I'm a bit tired of that particular joke, and it can be avoided by just setting the series 1 year later during the next summer. I do recognize some problems that could arise from that idea, though. One of them being Doof. In Last Days of Summer, he turns over a new leaf and defects to the good side. This is later seen and further examined in the Milo Murphy series. If they set it after the initial summer, they would have to come up with a different storyline for Perry and Doof that doesn't already retread what Milo did with him, which could be trickier than just, say, once again having it all take place in the same summer as the original show. It's not an easy solution, but I'm confident that the show will tackle it gracefully. And even if it is in the same summer, I'm sure it's going to be good either way. Phineas and Ferb, to me, is a near-perfect show. It's incredibly well written, filled with tons of fun, memorable characters, and has some of the best songs in a cartoon show. Even after rewatching it nearly 10 times, I haven't found much I dislike about it. However, there is this one episode that, while largely fine on its own, has started to rub me the wrong way. That being Season 2's The Beak. If you're not familiar with the episode, in it, Phineas and Ferb become the superhero The Beak, after initially building a suit to survive one of their more dangerous projects. It's full of references to popular comic book characters, like the suit referencing Iron Man, their relationship with Isabella in this episode being a riff on Superman and Lois's relationship, etc. As with many comics, the arrival of a superhero spurs a villain to rise, namely Kakapoopoo, who is out to ruin everyone's good day because he's never had one. So basically, he's your average Twitter user. At this point in the video, you're probably wondering where my issue comes into play. Well, my problem is how the show treats his relationship with his wife. After he's introduced, she tosses a chair straight at his face. And when he's defeated, she once again chucks one at him and demands he takes her shopping for more chairs. The way it's depicted is meant to make you laugh, and I fully get that it's not supposed to be anything deeper than that. It's just comedy. But it's the kind of joke you'd never see with the genders reversed. A husband throwing stuff at his wife would never happen because that's considered off limits, and not funny because it hits too close to home. A man being mistreated physically, however, is seen as funny. Despite the fact that of the domestic abuse cases reported to the police, 26% have been against men. I think this plays into the larger idea of male expendability, that men are more disposable. Audiences are more uncomfortable seeing women get hurt than they are when men get hurt, which is why in movies, games, and other media, you'll probably notice that a lot more men get killed than women, with obvious exceptions, of course. It's a bit of a big topic, though, so I'll move on for now. Just take a look at the Men Are the Disposable Gender TV Tropes page if you'd like to see more examples. I'm not claiming that Kakapoopoo is totally innocent or a good guy. He's clearly an unhappy man who complains constantly about his lot in life, but refuses to seize the day and make his day the best day it can be, even when offered the opportunity by Phineas. But be that as it may, that still doesn't mean he deserves abuse. Am I saying these types of jokes should be as equally off limits as violence against women is? Yes. If one isn't okay, then both shouldn't be shown. Because the more I rewatch this episode, the more I just feel bad for Kakapoopoo. And the fact that we're supposed to laugh at his abuse is a bit disconcerting to me. Phineas and Ferb probably has one of the most catchiest theme songs of any cartoon. It's a modern classic. I remember being pumped to watch the latest episodes thanks to it. One of the more interesting elements surrounding the theme song is the recurring joke of the characters trying to do everything mentioned in it.
You're giving a monkey a shower?
Yep, had to be done.
Like painting a continent, done in Oil on Candace, building nanobots, accomplished in Norm Unleashed.
Yeah, main title, whatever.
Or finally locating Frankenstein's brain. Buford had it in Last Train to Bustville.
That was in my balloon.
It's a fun, if silly, challenge for the writers to work all those scenes in when I doubt that was the original intention. Sort of like the Meep episodes.
And now, a trailer for an episode we also have no plans to make.
When I was watching the show last night, I got to one of the Christmas episodes, Phineas and Ferb Winter Vacation, and of course the theme song changed accordingly. Side note, but I do love when shows have different themes for the holidays. The Halloween theme is my favorite by far, but this Christmas one is good too. But it got me thinking. They never do all the things in the winter theme song. By the end of the show, everything in the main theme had been done. Robot dog? Check. Finding a dodo bird? Check. Building an igloo that looks like a castle? Not check. Granted, the holiday specials are usually only one episode, so I'm under no illusion that they should have worked it in. However, Perhaps with the show coming back, they could write some episodes based on this series of wintry activities. I could easily see them making flying snow angels, creating northern lights, or snowboarding upside down. Okay, maybe that last one isn't that sound an idea, but you get my point. There's even more ideas from the first Christmas theme song, like snowball fights with giant catapults or rocking a Christmas carol. So I definitely think there's at least some potential to rework these song lyrics into actual episodes, or just include brief references to them in the new seasons of Phineas and Ferb, if those eventually do have holiday-themed episodes. But what about you? What do you think? Would you want to see these scenes appear in actual episodes, or am I too much of a dreamer? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching. Take care. Timelines are confusing, and the Phineas and Ferb Milo Murphy one is no different. I was doing yet another rewatch of Milo Murphy's Law last night when I noticed something that confused me about when both shows take place. In the episode Battle of the Bands, Zach explains that last year he had been part of the Lumberjacks in 2016.
Who are the Lumberjacks? Is there some backstory that I'm not...
It was the year 2016.
So this would place the show's events in the fall of 2017. Now, with Phineas and Ferb, that supposedly took place at least around 2008, as referenced by some blueprints they had in a certain episode. So this is like 9 years later. What's the issue? Well, here's the thing, though. This show eventually does a crossover with Phineas and Ferb, and they look exactly the same. No time has seemingly passed between the two shows. Now, how can that be? So I started to dig into it. As I looked for more info on the year these shows took place, the more I became perplexed. It was easy enough to figure out when Milo Murphy's Law's events happened, thanks to fans and video creators like The Second Dimension, linked to his video below, but Phineas and Ferb was more difficult. Some episodes point to 2008, like The Best Lazy Day Ever, while others, such as the Dunkelberry Imperative, point to it being 2012, as Doof's driver's license expired then, and the episode's plot concerns him renewing it. Even more confusingly, a calendar, shown in Last Day of Summer, lines up more with the days of August in 2017. So which is it? 2008, 2012, or 2017? The easiest solution is to go with the year 2017 for Phineas and Ferb. This would make sense, because in the Milo episode, Murphy's Lard, Melissa flashes back to the previous summer where the roller coaster from the first Phineas and Ferb episode drops into her backyard. That indicates that Phineas and Ferb took place in 2017, not any of the years mentioned prior. This opens up another can of worms, though, because multiple characters in Phineas and Ferb use flip phones at the start of the show, which would have made sense in 2007 to 2008, as smartphones had only just came out, but less so by 2017 standards. The whole thing is just a mess, and definitely leaves one scratching their head trying to work it out. Of course, given it's a cartoon, I'll admit the best conclusion is that it doesn't need to make sense, and the writers likely never even intended for it to make sense. That hasn't stopped fans from coming up with all kinds of theories, such as this one that purports that the time travel device Doof set off in the episode where Candace ran for mayor condensed several years into just one summer. Another way of looking at it is that the shows exist on something of a floating timeline. A floating timeline means basically the show exists in the present at all times. Shows like The Simpsons and comics are famous for using this device in order to explain away characters not aging. Now, Phineas and Ferb is a bit of a special case in that it was always meant to take place in one summer, and isn't using this writing device to explain away years of not aging, even though technically more time has passed than one summer could possibly have happened in. I just mean that if you ever want to know what year the show took place in, you could say the answer is whatever year it currently is. Is it a perfect answer? No. But it's the best we have unless the creators chime in. So, what are my final thoughts? Personally, I'm just going to believe that Phineas and Ferb took place in 2017. Any other dates referenced were retconned by episodes like Battle of the Bands and Murphy's Lard. It's a theory that gives me the least amount of headaches. Thanks for watching, and take care.